Here's why Europe is such a big opportunity. The European Union alone has 27 different countries. And while not every single country has its own Amazon, Amazon is available in the primary markets like Germany, Netherlands, Poland, Sweden, Belgium, France, Spain. And even if you live in a country in Europe that doesn't have its own Amazon, you can still order. I'm currently in Estonia. I just recently ordered a package from Amazon in Germany, got it delivered within 2 days, and delivered it over to the Smart Post boxes and was able to go and pick it up myself. Then you have the UK, which I know what you're thinking, is technically no longer part of Europe, but still is in the European region and remains one of Amazon's strongest marketplaces. So for Middle East brands, it's not about just entering a new market, it's actually entering a whole new region. And the UK can be the smartest way and the smartest market for you to enter. First of all, it is an English-speaking market, so it's quite easy. You will see in this video that VAT registration and all other legal details are quite simple in the UK, much more simpler than other European markets. And Amazon is so established that it has become part of everyday living for anyone living in the UK. But launching properly matters. You need to have compliancy in terms of VAT. You might not need to register a business in the UK. You can, if you are an Amazon UAE seller, you can, with a UAE business license, you can use your UAE business license, but there are so many other details to think about. If you're interested in launching on Amazon UK or Europe, you can reach out to the Sellers Society and find out about the programs that we have in place to help brands based in the Middle East that are currently selling on Amazon UAE and Saudi Arabia, how we can help you and assist you in entering into the European markets, and in particular my favorite market, which is the UK. You'll find the link in the description box of this video. Just fill it out and we'll reach out to you if you are the right candidate. Now in this video, we're going to talk about step number 1, which is VAT and VAT compliance. For those of you that want to enter into the European market, or if you want to enter into the Middle East market, or if you're currently selling, what is this VAT? How do you register? And all of those liabilities. This video is in collaboration with One Stop VAT. Let's get going.
Hello everyone, my name is Fabio Lavarna. I'm from Italy and I'm here right now to talk to you about a sexy subject, that's taxes in e-commerce. And I do it as a representative of One Stop VAT, which is one of the largest provider of VAT, sales tax, GST compliance in over 100 countries and jurisdictions worldwide. So yeah, let's get sexy. We're going to be talking about expanding your Amazon sales, as you can see on the title, and specifically how to go from Middle East to Europe and from Europe to Middle East. So if you are in one market and you want to hit the other one, this is going to be a hopefully helpful guide on how you can do it. Okay, so we're going to talk about how Amazon is set up in Europe, how it works in the different countries, because aside from it being a single market, it's not a single country, and how different regulations can affect your presence in different countries, what options you have to centralize or simplify your reporting and your tax obligations, and how from a European company, from a European country or non-European country, you want to expand to Middle East and Northern Africa. So let's look at Amazon in Europe first of all. So here you can see in orange the main countries where Amazon has a presence. I'm sure you all know them by now, but there are 11 countries, seven of them are FBA, and 4 of them are additional smaller countries where you can or cannot expand. But the main thing is that it's a huge market. I mean, Germany and the UK, you can see we're looking at around 40 billion euro market size back in 2024. And it has certainly increased because the trend is always increasing. And France is the second largest. Italy is still quite a big one. And Spain is not a bad one with 8 billion a year. So we total on Amazon is around 110, 120 billion. There are other marketplaces that are expanding, other marketplaces that on a local, smaller countries may be more important than Amazon. Europe is still the place to be if you want to sell well. So, as we said, FBA, the storage countries are Germany, Czech Republic, France, Italy, Spain, and Netherlands, and Poland. In Netherlands, you need to have a VAT number in Germany registered because the Dutch warehouse is physically in Germany. So you are importing your goods to Germany. More about that a bit later. Basically, it's an appendage of Germany in a way, and you are somehow tied to Germany. And of course, other big market is UK, which is not in the European Union, but still it's on the door. You know, it's in my home. It seems unrelated, but in my home we have created a verb with my wife that's Brexiting. It's when the cat is on the door and doesn't know if he wants to go in or out. So that's what UK has been doing in the last 10 years. It's out, but still, you know, they enjoy some advantages of being in. And this comes very handy when it comes to VAT registration, which is what enables you to trade in each and every country. By new, so using storage in all these 7 major countries is the way to go if you want to have a faster response to the market, if you want to have faster deliveries, if you want your clients to be satisfied. Of course, it comes with higher costs. So if you want to start small, if you do not have the pockets deep enough to open up Paneu in all countries, to pay for VAT compliance or the overhead costs in all 7 countries, that's where it's important to have someone that advises you to help to choose the right country, the right place where to start. And how can you choose that? It depends. Well, if you see a potential in a specific country, then you may want to go to Italy or to Germany or to Poland. So it depends if you want to go central and faster with faster shipping, then Germany could be the place to go. There's lots of possible angles to decide how to choose a country. And I want to give you a little perspective that concerns mostly the VAT compliance. Take a little step back and let's look at the obligations that come with the expansion to Europe. So basically, if you want to sell to Europe, you need to store your goods in Europe. And if you need to store your goods in Europe, you need to be registered. You need to have a VAT number because your sales have to be associated to something there. So it's like having a store, like having a small shop without all the overheads, without all the obligations in corporate tax, in employees, and so on and so forth. So you keep your main office, let's say that is registered in the Emirates, and you have a VAT number in Germany, one in France, one in Italy, depending on where you're storing the goods. And in each country, it can take a longer time or shorter time to register a VAT number. It's also an important consideration if you have urgency. If you have, for example, a ship coming from China in 4 weeks, then maybe it's better to register in a country like Italy or France rather than Germany or Spain, where it takes a bit longer. And you need to let's say, play it smart. Another little obligation that is required here is an EOA number. It's basically the register of importers. So if you want to reclaim the VAT on imports, because when you're importing your goods, you have your container of goods, they let you in if you pay VAT on import. But in general, if you want to not lose money when you're importing your goods, your container, let's imagine it's a container of socks. When you're importing a container of socks from China into Germany, you need to have an EOA number to be sure that this money that you pay can come back to you at a later stage. The EOA number allows you to import anywhere. So if you have a German EOA number, you can decide to import your goods in Italy next week, in Spain next month, in France in 3 months from now, depending on how the operation goes. So if you have a cheaper rate to ship goods to each other country, that's what helps you to do the import and to reclaim the VAT wherever your goods are coming in. Different countries, as I said, are different. So different processing times, different requirements for the documentation that you have to provide. Some documents need to be translated. In some countries, the fact itself that you're coming from a company that is based outside of the European Union puts you in a difficult situation, let's say, in a situation where you do have to have either someone who covers for you, someone who talks to the tax office for you and represents you and takes the responsibility, at least the fiscal representative, and or still the fact that you are from outside Europe, they don't like it. So they ask you to put money aside. They ask you to put a deposit with the tax office to guarantee for your VAT. Okay, let's get into the specifics of how it works in each country. As I said, some of those countries require a fiscal representative, and some of the countries with a fiscal representative require even more than that, require the deposit. Let's look now at other countries where things can be a bit easier. And that's Germany, actually. Germany being the largest country, the biggest market in Europe, they make it easier for VAT registration because the document set is very simple. They don't ask too many questions. Only thing is that, the famous German efficiency, well, forget it. It doesn't exist. They are very slow. It takes 3 months or so, 3 to 4 months to register a VAT number. So, but the moment they get to your paperwork, let's say, to your file at the bottom of the pile, then they're very fast in processing that. So it's just that they have so many sellers, so many applications that they are understaffed, and so that's why it slows down. It says here that getting an EORI number can be tricky for the new sellers, but that's the thing of the past. I would say we've been able to resolve this in the last month or two, and we found a way. There was basically for some time some sort of hurdle, like basically you're non-EU, you cannot have a EORI number. Now they made it much easier, so it's okay. And let's talk about now. So far, we've been talking about different countries, we've been talking about different regulations, how things change in different countries, different mentalities in Europe. I don't want this to scare you. This is one way to look at things in Europe, but in the last years, namely since 5 years, actually, July 2021, in Europe, we started with simplifying things and by specifically creating one-stop shop, OSS. Our company is called One Stop VAT, so we take the name from there. And it is basically a way to simplify and centralize VAT reporting. How do you do it? Instead of paying the VAT, because one thing I didn't mention yet is that when you're registered in all these 6-7 countries, you need to pay VAT there, of course.
Yeah.
But what have they done now when it comes to OSS? They have created a system where the VAT that is payable since 2021 is now the VAT of the country of destination. So if you're shipping from France to Germany, the VAT that is due is 19%, which is a German VAT rate. If you're shipping to Hungary, it's 27%, to Finland, it's 25.5%, and so on and so on. But instead of paying the Hungarian VAT in Hungary, where you don't have a VAT number, the Finnish one in Finland, where you don't have a VAT number, you give it to your home country. You choose a country where you are storing goods and designate this country as the home country. The example I make is that it's like a friend who is collecting money to be distributed to his friends. So he's getting, say, 2,000 euros. I say, okay, 150 is yours, 2025 is yours, 372 is yours, and so on, and blah, blah, blah. So that's exactly what One Stop Shop does. You pay to your local office money that belongs to others, to other countries, and then your local office will forward it to the tax office of destination. And that makes it easier for you because you only have to remember to make one payment. You don't have many deadlines. The payment is done quarterly. So January to March is paid by the end of April. April to June is paid by the end of July, and so on and so forth. So this makes things a lot easier for European companies. But if you are non-European, and here comes the funny part. If you are non-European and you're selling only on Amazon, then you will not need to use OSS, which doesn't mean that you're paying the VAT directly into each and every country where you're selling, but it works differently. Amazon works as a so-called deemed supplier. If the definition of deemed supplier may sound unclear, I prefer to call it, in Italian we would call it tax substitute. Basically, they pay the VAT for you. And how do they do it? By buying your sale before selling to the end user. So you're selling from ABC Incorporated, your company, to John Smith in Germany. If you're selling from France, it's a B2C sale. But before the goods go to John Smith, Amazon buys them for you. So your B2C becomes a B2B2C transaction. Basically, with you being the first B, Amazon being the second B, and so you're selling 100 euro of goods. Out of those 100 euro, the normal cash flow would be that you get the 100 and then you pay 20 of VAT. What happens here is that you sell to Amazon, Amazon pays you the net, the 80, and they get the 100 and they pay the remaining 20 to the tax office on your behalf. Now, how this benefits Amazon in terms of cash flow is a different story. It's not our business in a way, but this benefits you. How? In two ways. One, the cash flow is more predictable, so it makes it easier. You get less money, but all the money you're getting is yours. So you don't get into this inflated bubble. You are making 100,000. No, it's only 80. So relax, cool down.
Yeah.
And also it makes things for you because things get easier for you because in this scenario, you do not need to be registered for OSS. You do not need to use this system. And basically, you need to register your VAT only in the countries of storage. So you're storing in Germany, in France, and Italy, you need 3 VAT registrations. And you will be basically reporting in those countries only local sales. Everything else goes to Amazon. So you pay only a fraction of the VAT. And the non-OSS scenario, why is Amazon working as a deemed supplier? Because the rules, the European rules dictate that the deemed supplier is basically one that does the following things, that they take care of the marketing. So they are promoting your goods. How? Well, you have your listing. So you are managing your listing with all your keywords and so on and so forth. But the visibility of the listing is on them, technically. Regardless of if it's page 1 or page 42, it's still on Amazon. They are doing the physical handling, so they're doing handling and shipping, and they are doing they're handling the financial, the monetary exchange. So they're doing physically the sales, they're getting the money, and so by doing all this, they qualify as a deemed supplier, and they can cover the VAT for you. It's up to you here to decide whether you will need to. You can start to go only with OSS or non-OSS. So start slow with a 3PL without just test the market before jumping into a relationship with Amazon and doing a pan-EU subscription. Or you want to go big and forget about OSS because you sell it only on Amazon. Amazon is doing all the handling. Amazon is doing all the VAT. So it depends on your market. Every case, every business case is different. Let's talk about IOSS. That's import one-stop shop. Import one-stop shop is another way for you to test the European market without going big, with limited cash flow exposure. And that is basically by shipping your goods into Europe from outside Europe. Typical case, Chinese dropshipper. And you get your company wherever it is located, but the goods are shipped from a Chinese manufacturer into Europe, and there's no storage in Europe. So since there is no storage in Europe, there's no obligation for you to register a VAT number in the European Union. But of course, the VAT on import must be collected. So here, It's another business decision whether you want to ship DDP, deliver duty paid, or you let the client handle their own duties, which can of course come with lower ratings, negative surprises by the client because I didn't expect that I was supposed to be paid 1, 2, 500 euros of VAT on imports, 1-star rating. No one wants it, so many sellers decide to go down this road to keep their clients happy, and it's totally understandable, and the system allows you to do that. It just makes one little differentiation. It draws a line at 150 euro. So the goods, the total value of the shipment, be careful, be aware. If the total value of the shipment, so if you have an item that sells for 10 euro and they order 14 of them, they're fine. It's considered low value sales. You can cover the VAT. But if it's higher, the VAT is on the client. They have to pay the VAT on import anyway. So basically, for low value sales, the European Union customs allow you to send the goods through and you pay the VAT. So the seller registers a single European VAT number and you collect the VAT on purchase. So you add it to your shopping cart, you collect the VAT on behalf of the client, you pay it. The goods clear customs. No one is asking for any money from the receiver. You declare your VAT monthly in that case. If you don't add the VAT to your shopping cart at the end, then it will be collected on delivery, which, as you see, it can be annoying for the client. It can lead to bad ratings, unexpected costs, and so on and so forth. So the VAT is not collected on delivery, it's said here, but it's assigned to your EU VAT number. We do that, for example, said before, our company is Lithuanian, so we can register you in Lithuania or in Ireland, for example, if it's easier for the language, and you can you report your sales every month with the total sales of the previous month, again at the VAT rate of the destination country. So sales to Germany pay 19, sales to Italy pay 21, 22, I don't remember, and so on and so forth. The same thing was possible, IOSS was possible until a few years ago in the UK. It was called MOS, but M was going to a minimum was a one-stop or something like that. But now it's done slightly different, in a slightly different, but similar way, in a way, because you still have to register a VAT number in UK, and you can handle all the imports on behalf of your client. So UK being outside of European Union, it doesn't fall into IOSS. It's a normal VAT registration. You register a UK VAT number, you pay the VAT on the low values, client pays the VAT on the big imports. Now let's talk about this audience. Might probably have, hopefully, someone from this side of the world, sure, Europe, that wants to expand into Arab Emirates, Saudi, Turkey, Egypt, and all the region, because it's a big market. It's the world is big. There's a place for everyone. Clients can be for everyone. Here, it's a little bit different because you have to split the options into two. Saudi Arabia and Emirates, where you do not need to register a company. All this, as it is in Europe, can be done by having your own company, your Italian, your American, your Argentinian, French company, and register a VAT number. Each company calls it VAT, self-tax, and so on, but we call it VAT for sake of simplicity. A VAT number in each country. So you can do that in the Saudi Arabia and Emirates as a non-resident, and you need to use a tax representative. If you want to get back the import VAT, as we mentioned before, in Europe you need to have an EU number. In these countries you need to have an importer of record, which can be your 3PL or it can be your customs broker. It's not going to be you. In Europe, you can be the importer of record. In this case, you have a third party locally registered and recognized, which acts as an importer of record. And so the import will be done they will do it on your behalf, basically, and they would, the money will be yours. It can be reclaimable. And
In Saudi Arabia, Amazon will be acting as the supplier, as we just described before. They buy the goods from you and they sell them to the end user, both on the local sale and on the distant sale. So both, regardless of whether you're selling, shipping locally from your storage in Riyadh or you're shipping from China. And the funny thing here is that, okay, if the Saudi audience knows this much better than I do, invoicing is not mandatory. You must have your own Saudi systems. You must have your local providers that are approved by the state, correct me if I'm wrong here. And so some integration between the local software and your Stripe, your Amazon, your whatever invoicing software you use can be necessary. We wouldn't touch it, sorry, something that is on you, but that can be a small hurdle, but nothing big, I would say. One interesting thing that happened that we heard about a few months ago, actually, from this side of the world, is that there's this tax amnesty initiative. Basically, yes, if you are registering late, if you have not fulfilled your VAT obligations, you have until the end of this year to register VAT number for local sales, and you will not pay penalties. Correct? Yeah, you know better, I guess, I'm sure. Talking about the Arab Emirates, so the registration is mandatory in all cases, just regardless of whether you are selling from outside or locally. The only difference is that if you're storing goods locally, so if you're shipping from outside, Amazon works as a deemed supplier. Amazon buys the goods from you and sells them locally. It makes sense. It's an understandable flow. You sell to Amazon, Amazon is importing, and Amazon is selling to the end user. But if you are storing the goods in the Emirates, Amazon will not be the supplier, and there's no threshold. There's no 375,000 dirham threshold applicable. So basically, for the first sale, it's taxable. While if you're selling from outside, you do not need to register VAT for the first 375. The moment that you hit 376, you need to register VAT locally. Okay? And this is the, let's say, the easier way, relatively easier, as it says up there, that you still can get by with having a VAT registration. When it comes to the two other countries in the region where Amazon is storing goods, Turkey and Egypt, that's where the fun starts, because you basically need to store. If you decide to store your goods there, they don't accept you doing that with a foreign entity. So you cannot be an Italian, French, American entity with a local VAT number. No, you need to have a local company. So this, of course, drives up the cost, drives up the overheads. You have corporate taxes, you need to have local payroll and so on. So that's, you need to have a local accountant, certified accountant. That's a protective measure in a way. It's still understandable, but of course it drives costs up. It also makes it longer because the processing time for registration of a company can be long. So the only thing, the best way to approach these markets is to sell from remotely. So drop shipping again from China or FBM from outside. But basically, you do not need to register a local entity if you're not storing goods there. The only disadvantage is on the client because, of course, the VAT on import will be on them regardless of the value of the shipment. So €1, €1,000,000, whatever it is, the client has to pay the VAT on import. You can register only if you want to use something like IOSS. So if you want to cover the VAT for your client on their behalf.
Thank you so much to Fabio and the One Stop VAT team for all of this fantastic information. If you want to learn more about One Stop VAT and reach out to them directly, all the links in the description box of this video. I'll see you in another video with more information. Bye.